Today, Ciara is known for having had a successful career and married to an NFL superstar. But at one point, everyone believed she was really born a man. This has become wildly popular in media nowadays, with one of Mr. Beast's best friends claiming that he's now a woman, as well as plenty of that type of individual being broadcast on all media platforms. But this Ciara rumor was nearly 20 years ago, when this type of stuff was seen as nearly a work of fiction, and nobody could have anticipated where we would get to today. There isn't any exact source of where this began, but if you were living in the United States between the years of 2004 to 2006, but mainly in 2005, and you were a kid in elementary school or maybe even a young adult, one of your friends or family members in your age group probably whispered into your ear, "You know Ciara's a man, right?" This was a heart-stopping moment since Ciara was many young boys' crush. She had hit songs at this time. Not hits, smash hits. We're talking the #1 song Goodies, as well as the #2 song 1-2 Step, on top of her album Goodies that debuted at #3 and would eventually go triple platinum. At this time, Ciara was known as the Princess or First Lady of Crunk and B, which was a mixture of crunk dance music that was accompanied by her impressive choreography, but also incorporating strong elements of R&B as well as some hip-hop. If we take a look at Google Trends, you can clearly see that the search for Ciara Man began to take off in November of 2004 and reaching its all-time peak in February of 2005. It perfectly coincides with the rise of her hit single 1-2 Step that would debut at number 74 on the Hot 100 on October 30th, 2004, and then reach its peak of number 2 on the charts in January of 2005. Staying there for 7 weeks, which was the peak of the Ciara Man search on Google. There were multiple versions of this rumor with no exact location on where it first manifested. It's like a game of telephone. It may have originated in one of these versions and transformed while it got more popular in certain regions, but these were the different but most known versions of the rumor. Ciara came into the world as a male, but somewhere along the way either she or her parents decided she should become a girl, with surgery performed on her to bring about this transformation at an unidentified age. She was born male, but a botched circumcision did irreparable harm to her man parts, so her parents opted to have what was left of her genitalia converted to feminine form. Ciara herself voiced this huge news on national television, with the Oprah Winfrey Show as an appearance she made there during an interview. This one is very common as it was also used in a fake rumor that Tommy Hilfiger saying he didn't want black or Asian people wearing his clothes. I made an entire video on that, you can see at the end. This was completely untrue. Ciara had never been on Oprah at this point and wouldn't be on Oprah for many, many years. Another is, she started life as an intersex, a person of mixed gender. A surgical solution was sought on her behalf to correct her body to being wholly one gender rather than a mixture of the two. Some quotes from people were as follows: "I've been hearing from many people that the hip-hop artist Ciara used to be a man and had to have a sex change. Even more, I heard that she stated it on national television. There's been a rumor around the internet that hip-hop artist Ciara was once a hermaphrodite until the age of 11, when she had surgery to remove her male appendages. I've heard a rumor that the R&B star Ciara was born male, that she decided that he wanted to be a female at the age of 5, and his mother let him grow his hair out. I was told that he had surgery so he no longer has man parts." And apparently she was on Oprah having an in-depth conversation about it, along with discussing it in a magazine article. The intersex example is an interesting one. The context here is that intersex, or hermaphrodite they were calling it, is someone that was not necessarily born a full man, like most people that say they're a woman now. They were born indistinguishably 100% a certified boy. But intersex is an incredibly rare defect in which it's not completely certain what gender the individual is at birth. They're born with several different characteristics, and depending on how close they are to a certain side, for lack of strong medical terms, they're assigned a gender at birth. Sometimes the person has mixed genitals, or an extra Y chromosome, or raised testes, and a lot of the time the treatment is reconstruction surgery as a baby, adding or removing body parts to match the assigned gender/sex, to end up with a completely male or female body composition. An example of someone relatively famous who falls under this is Semenya. She's a 2-time Olympic gold medalist from South Africa that was born intersex but assigned female at birth. And throughout her career, there was a ton of controversy debating on whether or not it was a clear advantage against the women she was competing against. Because if Castor had to compete against men, she wouldn't even be able to compete at US Division I college level, let alone Olympic level. But what makes this so unbelievable looking back is that if you look up Castor Semenya, this individual clearly has masculine features, as opposed to Ciara, who was not only very beautiful at the time, but also very feminine looking in her shape, speech, and appearance. This contrast, on top of our general ignorance about the topic, likely made it so shocking that allowed for it to spread in the way that it did so fast. Because keep in mind, this is 2005. The internet still wasn't even really high speed for most, and this rumor grew entirely through word of mouth. It's hard to grasp this concept when someone grew up in the modern age and in just 1 or 2 days something can reach a virality across most of the world, and in the span of a week it's forgotten about and on to the next thing. However, there was an internet component that assisted in people's belief of this rumor, and that was a website in which someone shared the same name as Ciara. This blog site was created around 1998-1999 and stopped being updated around 2000. But when someone searched up Ciara Man, this webpage would come up, and you can clearly see the traffic pattern on Web Archive that 2004-2005 were the peak years, perfectly coinciding with the Google Trends search popularity. The individual who was telling their story here was a biological male who was born in 1968 in Ireland, but in 1999 he went through surgery to try and become a woman. Upon entry to the site, it clearly says Ciara's place in what looks like some teenage girl drawing handwriting, or font, with some quotes and writing saying the following. "Hi, all you nice people out in internet land. Welcome to my small part of the web. My name is Ciara, and I'm one of those, wait for it, transsexual people that you're always reading about, seeing on the television, stuff like that," which wasn't really the case back then. Although my page has shock horror, SEX in its search string, hello to all you nice people who have just learned how to Yahoo, this is the one thing you won't find here. Instead, you'll find information on how to change your identity, how to work on your voice, and links to pages of many other people who have very similar stories to mine. He goes on to give details of his life story in other sections of the site, in one saying, "I suppose I must have caused my parents some problems when young. They did their best not to be gender specific in toys. When I was 3, I wanted a cot for my doll and I got it. I existed in a pretty much perfect world of blissful ignorance until I went to primary school. Then I realized that boys were boys and girls were girls, and at that age, never the twain shall meet. Such were the joys of single-sex schools in 1970s Ireland. I had my first, and so far last, boyfriend within weeks of starting primary school. Needless to say, this did not make life much easier amongst my peers. Gradually, however, I settled down to near normality." So what some people did is assume that this was the diary of Ciara before she became famous, writing about her life growing up, what it was like in school, feeling like a woman, etc. Another passage saying the following. "Secondly, it was time for me to make my first communion. When we went to get my suit, I was very upset that I was not going to be getting one of the nice communion dresses. It was probably shortly before this that I first started cross-dressing, always looking forward to a day sick off school so I could be alone at home. Secondary school was a deeply unhappy time for me. I knew that I was different but had to put on a brave face. It caused me some anxiety problems which led to quite a bit of insomnia during my first year. I generally got on better with the girls in my class than the boys. Quite a few of them noticed this, and my nickname was Cindy, which publicly mortified me, but privately delighted me." The problem with all of this is that with just a couple of seconds of clicking around and reading, you could clearly see that this Ciara was Irish, from Ireland. But my belief is that so many people were kids who looked this up, or even if they were adults, it was just confirmation bias for their already existing notion of Ciara that they either ignored it or didn't want to look for any more research that could potentially prove them wrong. Because the dates lined up perfectly. The site was abandoned by 2000. Since Ciara had completed his surgery and wanted to continue living his life, the Irish Ciara, he no longer felt a need to update it. And by this time, the musician Ciara would have been around 15, not even in the music industry yet. So people likely thought, gotcha. There was never really a grand closing of this rumor. It really just faded away over time. I think after people saw her date multiple guys like Bow Wow and others, they figured, hey, it must be fake. But I don't think there was a moment where people actually said collectively, okay, I believe she's a woman now. It was more like they just forgot. I know this was my case at least. The thought of the rumor didn't come back into my mind until around 2010, and by then I just thought, oh yeah, is she actually a man? Nah, I don't think so. Would have heard more about it if she was. Although she did make a couple of attempts at addressing it, which just shows you the magnitude of how big it really was. Keep in mind again, there's no social media. There is zero direct fan access to interact with the artist. They don't know what we're thinking unless it gets so big that even their circles are talking about it. She addressed this on MTV's 106 in Park.
There's one thing about me being a man or something like that. Okay. And they said that I went on Oprah and did it, and I'm like, okay, come on. It takes a while before that happens for somebody going to Oprah, you know what I mean? Like that.
And the comments on this video in particular just goes to show you how ingrained a rumor can get in people's brain that they convince themselves that they actually saw the footage. No. Not gonna lie, she was really on Oprah though. I don't know what happened to the footage, but I remember watching that stuff with my grandma. No cap, she spoke out, with the reply saying, I remember too, but I believe they deleted all evidence and videos. I still be trying to find it though, cause I know I seen it, LOL. And another comment, nah, but I know why they saying that, because it was a person who looks exactly like Ciara who was on Oprah's show and looked exactly like Ciara, so people just took it and ran with it. But I remember that episode clear as day. The day I saw it, that's where it came from, with a reply supporting this. I remember watching it on Oprah and she admitted it. Back then when stuff didn't go viral like it does now where you can retract the video, they erased it. That's what's wild to me. It's the fact that she was on Oprah saying it and then denied it on 106 in Park. SMH. That's when I stopped believing Hollywood and the music industry. None of this was true. There was never an episode of Ciara on Oprah, and it wasn't scrubbed. Even back then, people would have had a recording. And what does Oprah or the industry have to do with defending Ciara? Especially all these years later when she's not even a B-tier artist in popularity nowadays. I can't argue the episode with someone who looked like Ciara. That may have been the case, but I'm more likely to lean to the side that people were already more conspiratorial, and so many years have passed that they genuinely believe they saw something that didn't exist. Which is a testament to how weak our memory can be looking back, or a testament to how strong-headed our beliefs can become over time. Or it's just a Mandela effect. There were some talks and rumors that Beyoncé or someone from her team were the ones that pushed this rumor out since Ciara blew up in the time span that Beyoncé had between her first and second solo album, but this is a rumor with weak basis. Although I do believe it possible that competitors would be willing to do something like this. Besides, that rumor really didn't harm Ciara's music career. Her second album, Ciara The Evolution, in 2006 became her first #1 album. While none of the singles on there went #1, it did have several platinum hits on there, from the ironic Like a Boy, which feels like a play at the rumor, to Get Up with Chamillionaire. The video with the fake rumor about Tommy Hilfiger that I talked about earlier should be on your screen right now. Check that out and subscribe for more.